Hey everybody, Rob from Karma Comment Chameleon coming at you today with a couple of stories from Tales from Tech Support. First one, worst I ever saw. Let's jump right in. Check out my new channel, CanadianRob's Workshop, link in the description below. Back when I worked the contract for a largish insurance company, I was informed that they needed to assign me to another site temporarily. Wasn't a major issue, it was actually closer to my home and not in the city, so it was almost a pleasant diversion. Scuttlebutt was that the previous tech had mouthed off to a higher up while doing after hours work. It kind of snowballed from there, as almost immediately upon my arrival, one of the users informed me that the ex-tech had been a drunk and that they were doing essentially no work. Even factoring in user exaggeration, that didn't bode well for my immediate future. Took him a few hours to scrounge up keys, the previous guy hadn't returned his, so I did the rounds of the floor and performed a little goodwill IT work, quick config fixes, how-to stuff, etc. The most common comment there was that they'd been waiting months for the old on-site guy to fix that. 5-minute jobs at best. On-site had also been keeping the door to the IT room locked at all times. I don't think anyone had actually seen the room but him for years, corroborated by the expression of the face of the admin who'd gotten me the keys. The room looked like a hoarder's den. First thing you'd notice was the smell. Guy had left food containers out and often underneath piles of equipment. Second thing was the piles of equipment. Moldy bread, coffee, chip bags, pretty much what you'd expect. Oddly, no evidence of drinking, but I guess he was good about hiding that or was doing it out of the office. Not a huge amount of food waste, but certainly more than you'd expect given there was a cleaning crew taking away the trash every night. One huge pile was nothing but laptops, more than 100 of them in a big mound. To put this in perspective, the office was one floor of a 4-story building and had around 120 users, so roughly one laptop per user on site, out of service, and in a pile. Some had open tickets, some were brand new and needed deployed, and some were complete mysteries and needed to be tracked. Another pile, almost to the ceiling, was empty cardboard boxes. Never counted them, but broke out the Stanley and cut them down. That was the first thing I did because I needed the room just to make enough space to sort out the rest of the mess. Finally, the ex-tech had not updated his asset list in some time and had been receiving 10 monitors a month for more than a year thanks to automation. Budgeted for 3 spare monitors, his list read -7. There was an entire office full to the ceiling with monitors. Oh, and the network closet had suffered a climate control failure sometime in the past. Went in there and humidity was at 85%. Environmental alarms had been disabled. Called building maintenance and the infrastructure team to get that dealt with ASAP. I've had less trepidation going in for surgery than I had opening up the help desk queue for that site. I wasn't disappointed. Hundreds of tickets, most months old. His methodology seemed to be responsive without actually doing anything for a few weeks, then abandoning the ticket and ignoring subsequent communications. Some stuff got escalated or assigned to other techs, but mostly it just sat in his queue. I didn't have visibility of his closed tickets, so I never did find out what he was closing, if anything. Just what was left open. Again, a lot of it was C-spot run type stuff, much of it able to be done remotely with zero user interaction or impact. And yes, I brought this up with my manager. Said manager wasn't usually in charge of this site, but since I was his tech and this was a single tech site, he inherited it. Apparently, he was about to call me because as soon as the queue went into my name, about 50 alerts popped up in his mailbox that said I was being a lazy bastard. One shared removal of a brick from pants later, we realized this was a bit more systemic than just the one tech, as his manager had to have been aware of these problems, and we most certainly had performance requirements attached to the contract. I still don't know how it ever got that bad. Users had no point of escalation because the guy never gave them his manager's contact info, and somehow their complaints to their HQ never warranted anyone coming to physically check on the situation. At a guess, the guy had been doing just enough work to keep things running. I documented everything I could. It took me 2 weeks to sort out the IT room, stacked everything on shelves, removed food, sorted laptops by status, arranged for retired asset pickup, and talked the admin into ordering some Glade units and 409 to deal with the smell. Ended up renting a van to move all those monitors to the main site in the city. Took several trips. 2 months later, I closed the last ticket touched by the X-Tech. Locals absolutely loved me at that point, where I joke that the bar had been set really low, so for all they knew, I was terrible. My replacement was perhaps less technical than me, but he was one of the friendliest we had and a very hard worker who knew when to ask for help. When I followed up with the locals a little later, they loved him too. Good fit for the site as, once everything was back under control, the ticket volume and workload was pretty sedate. The old tech's manager was pulled from the contract, and rumor was he was demoted to field tech. The other 2 sites he managed were in bad shape, but not nearly as bad as this one. Out of 5 techs he managed, only 1 survived the audit. Was kind of saddened by that, since they were mostly just mismanaged and their habits had gotten bad. Honestly, finding a tech who can work solo can be one of the hardest things in IT. I've known several who were great workers in a team setting, but just stopped working or got overwhelmed trying to run a single tech site. Good management will spot this early and shuffle their people around to deal with it. It sounds like OP made the best of a crappy situation and got it all cleaned up and working properly. On to our next story, but we were excited for night mode. This one was from a couple weeks back. I'm a senior advisor that works on chat support for a certain fruit-flavored company. My job isn't super technical compared to a lot of the folks here, and consists of roughly equal parts basic consumer-level troubleshooting, general customer service and warranty work, and filtering out the actual bugs and emerging issues so I can pass cases along to the engineers. However, with the recent new round of mobile and desktop operating systems being released, I've had more than a few cases where people did everything wrong and then showed up begging for help. The users that pull the trigger on an upgrade early and then find out that it breaks something they need but actually have a backup for their device is rare. So I get to break the bad news to a lot of folks that their only option is to erase things and start with a clean install, or wait for a third-party devs to push out updates for the things the OS broke. But that is assuming desktop issues. Mobile devices don't have a supported method to downgrade once they install a new version of the OS. So if you jump the gun, your option is to wait until whatever is broken gets fixed with an update, or figure it out on your own. There are a few options available for enterprise level customers, but that assumes you pay for an enterprise account. Which brings me to one specific incident, when someone chatted in and asked for information on how to downgrade a tablet. He'd been excited for dark mode, so he had updated the day it released, but an app needed for work was crashing when they opened it, and there were no updates available, or even slated for release at the time we checked. I confirmed it was a company-owned device and began explaining that downgrading wasn't officially supported, but that his company IT department may have some options available, to which he responded that he was the company IT. I asked if they had an enterprise account, and he indicated that they did not. So I explained that I could arrange to have an enterprise advisor give him a call, and they could discuss the available options and costs to get that taken care of. It was at that point that he asked how long before they could get it sorted, and I let him know that enterprise would have the specifics, but usually we could have someone on site to help within 24 hours, pending availability. But that might not be cost effective for one tablet, and normal service turnaround was 5 to 7 days if he mailed it into a depot. He became apoplectic. He had to get opened up in an hour. and he needed all 60 tablets downgraded by then so they could run their point of sale system. You see, he hadn't just upgraded one of their tablets to an untested operating system to see if it broke anything, but everything in the building, all now running in dark mode, totally useless for the only purpose they existed for, and they didn't have an enterprise account or a competent in-house IT department. I still wonder what happened to the guy once I passed him off to the phones. Can you imagine the reaction the manager would have when that IT person explains to them that none of their point of sale systems are going to be working because they did an update that they shouldn't have done? Oh, the cringe. I want to thank both of the OPs for posting their stories to the Tales from Tech Support subreddit. You can visit them at the links in the description below. Please go there and give them an upvote. Once again, this is Rob from Karma Comment Chameleon saying thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please hit that subscribe button, drop a like, and share it with your friends. And we'll see you in the next one.